And I always do that still. Thank you all for joining us. And as Zoom just notified you, we are recording this meeting so that we can share it online after the fact to make sure that everyone who is actively engaged in this work has an opportunity to participate in one way, shape, or form. And for some of us, we're able to make it the day of, others will provide feedback later. So regardless of how you showed up here today, I really appreciate you all joining us. I was just notified as well that the county exec is doing his state of the county today. So I'm, we're kind of competing with the county exec in a way. And so I'm glad you all showed up here. Really important work, although that's super important and we're partnering with the county on a lot. I'm glad you all showed up with us today. So here's our overview and our agenda of today's meeting. We'll start off with some welcome and introductions and some poll questions to get the conversation flowing. We'll then do an overview of MKE Elevate, what it is, why it exists, and talk about the action teams, which is why you all are here today. We'll go through a visioning activity to think about what does nonviolence and safety mean for Milwaukee. We'll have an opportunity to reflect on the MKE Blueprint for Peace from the Office of Violence Prevention and share a little bit of information about the importance of that work and how this work and this team is really meant to lift up a lot of what OVP is doing right now. Towards the second half of today's activity, we will break off into some small groups and start setting goals around how our action team, our safety and violence prevention action team, can show up in this space and what type of goals are appropriate for this work and for the people we have in the room. We'll have a full group discussion to do some debriefing, followed up by some question and answers and next steps. Ultimately, what we hope to get from you all today is, at a minimum, is to identify at least one goal for each subtopic within the safety and violence prevention action area. And we'll talk about that quite a bit today. We'll go into those details. Before I move on to the next slide, I do want to introduce three of my colleagues who will be speaking today. Robert, if you want to go first and introduce yourself.
Sure. Thanks, Langston. My name is Robert Walker. I am a public health strategist with Milwaukee Health Department. My focus is mental health and community resiliency.
Karen, why don't you go next?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Karen Tyler. I'm the operations manager for the Office of Violence Prevention. I've been with the city of Milwaukee for about 15 years now, and I'm excited to work with MKE Elevate for this project. Thank you.
Fantastic. And Alex?
Hi, everyone. My name is Alex, and I'm a public health strategist focusing on health equity, and I help also lead the MKE Elevate work.
Fantastic. So we're going to have an opportunity to get to know everyone that's on the call as well. If you could go to the next slide, we have a poll here, and we want to find out what areas of or what community sectors you all represent. So if you can just take a moment and select the checkbox that most closely, or multiple checkboxes that most closely represent what sectors you're a part of. This will also give us an opportunity to think about who's not in the room that we want to make sure and recruit to our next meetings as well. All right, maybe 10 more seconds. Thank you, Alex. It looks like we are heavily government and nonprofit focused. 48% of the folks are within government. It's probably some folks on my team as well, or our team here at the health department. We've got 43% representing nonprofits, 22% social services, 13% representing the community as community members, and then let's see, 4% as advocacy groups as well, and maybe another 4% as others. So thank you all for taking the time to do that. That's really helpful for us. Next, what I want to do on our next slide is open up the floor for everyone to share a little bit about themselves if you are comfortable doing so. I also welcome you, if you don't want to come off mute, to share this information in the chat as well. So there's a few things we would like to know about you and the folks we have in the room. So obviously, what's your name? What's your role? What organization or group do you represent or serve? And why'd you show up today? Of all the things you could be doing, you showed up here with us, and we're curious about the why of you showing up. What we will ask is that we have a pretty large group, so we would ask that everybody kind of keep their statements brief. I know that can get hard because folks are really passionate about that work that we're all doing here, but to make sure we can get through this, we'll try to keep it brief. So I will open the floor for folks to jump in. I don't have a great way in Zoom to start selecting people, so don't be shy.
Well, I don't mind going first. Let me turn my
Thanks,
video
Karen.
on here. Yeah, Karen Katz. I'm with the Wisconsin Office of Children's Mental Health. So we're a statewide perspective, all about the kids. I do our collective impact work there. So I manage work groups, just like this is a work group now, and you're going to try to do great things. And I'm here because the power of an invitation. Robert invited me. And so I'm here to see what you're all about in terms of children's mental health and how I can support that.
Great, thanks, Karen.
I can go next. My name is Kim Lombard. I am the Injury Prevention and Outreach Coordinator with Frederick Hospital. Frederick serves a large portion of the eastern portion of our state, but we primarily focus on Milwaukee County in terms of injury prevention outreach, serving various groups that kind of fall within the leading mechanisms of injury that we see. So I do work around falls prevention, motor vehicle crash injury, and then violence prevention. So why am I here today? Because I know that we cannot do this work alone and it takes collective effort. So I'm excited to be a part of this group.
Fantastic. And then I saw PK and Yvonne come off or turn on their camera. So if you all want to jump in, if you're going to go for it.
I'll go ahead and go if that's okay. So good morning. My name is Yvonne Bell-Gooden. I work as a consultant / clinician for several community-based organizations, West Care, Wisconsin, Word of Hope Ministries. There's a clinic in Green Bay that I also assist as well. So why did I show up today? A couple of reasons. I'm familiar with the work that your agency, the department does in the health department, but also because Robert asked me to come to see if I can be an active part of the wonderful work that you're doing. So.
Thank you, Yvonne.
You're welcome.
Did you want to join or share?
I can go next. I'm Gina Wai, Administrative Coordinator with Milwaukee County Children, Youth, and Family Services. For the purpose, in this space, I oversee the Credible Messenger program with Milwaukee County, and I showed up today is because my good friend Robert invited me, but then also to be able to build some social capital networks and be able to continue to expand on the work that we're doing over in youth justice.
I'll go next. Good morning. My name is Liz Hammer. I'm a community developer for Havenwood's Neighborhood Partnership. It's a nonprofit on the far northwest side. And my boss asked me to attend. I deal with a lot of the residents, and obviously their concern is safety and violence. So we just thought, well, we'll check out and see what this is about. Thank you for having me.
I can go next. My name is Elizabeth Banks. I work for Safe and Sound. I'm a community organizer, and I work in Metcalf Park in Midtown neighborhood. And why did I show up today? Because safe and sound work is the focus on safety. Keith.
Yeah, we just lost you right at the end. You said, why did you show up today?
Safe and sound, our focus is on safety. So I'm interested in any work that helps contribute to safety. Personal safety for residents and for the city. So.
Great, thank you.
I'll jump in. Deshaun Ewan, City of Milwaukee, Office of Violence Prevention, Family Injury and Violence Prevention Coordinator. So a lot of my work is around the space of domestic violence, sexual assault, human trafficking, child abuse. So I showed up here today because this is the work I do. Whenever these meetings happen, I try to be in the space.
Thank you.
Go next. Can you hear me?
Yep.
I am at a copy with a cop right now, so it's very loud in the background. So I apologize about that. But my name is Maritza. I am the Community Outreach Coordinator for the Fire and Police Commission. And prior to that, I worked a lot with residents and doing nonprofit, like public safety stuff in the nonprofit sector. So my why is kind of intertangled professionally and personally. I'm very invested in public safety and concerns, especially residents in the community.
Thank you.
Hey, Langston, I can jump in. My name is Justin Rivas. I'm the Director of Community Health Initiatives at the Milwaukee Healthcare Partnership. And didn't see that as one of the sector options. Healthcare, especially the community health side, I think, sees a lot of victims of violence and intersects and kind of crosses those four walls of the hospital and clinic settings by understanding how violence both happens at the community level outside of healthcare, but also how it shows up in healthcare spaces. So I collectively lead a little work within the partnership across the different health systems and FQHCs around violence prevention and intervention work, but just excited to be part of this group and see where we can plug in more and also invite more healthcare representatives to the space.
Awesome, thank you.
I'll jump in. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
I'm Meredith. I am a nurse and I work with all different populations in the community. I am also a member of Narcotics Anonymous, and we are vested in helping people stop using. And I just see a lot of violence with my clients and just in general and on a personal level, would love to help make change.
I'll jump in. Vaughn Mays, community activist, founder of program of Parks MKE, Conforce MKE, and We Locked In MKE. Myself and my team, we do violence prevention and interruption work, de-escalation work, and then community first response work as well.
Hey, I'm PK. I'm a recovering addict, and I guess we missed the first 5 years. I just signed on for this PR position, and the last 5 years were dedicated to opiate overdose and so on and so forth. So I currently I missed an opening, but I know there's more, and we're trying to get our information to the still suffering addict by reaching through clinicians, health departments, and so on and so forth. Hopefully we can make some sort of a connection here. So other than that, I don't know why I'm here.
All right, it sounds like you got some good reasons. I appreciate it. And if anybody else wants to come off mute, now's your chance. We did have a few folks who introduced themselves in the chat as well.
Hi, I could jump in. Hi, everyone. I'm Amanda Richmond. I'm a public health strategist with the City of Milwaukee Health Department. I focus on housing and economic security, and I'm leading another action team focused on built environment. So I'm really interested in the connections between safety and violence prevention and safe housing and neighborhoods and economic development. So excited to be here with everyone today.
My name is Melissa Seidel. I am also a public health strategist coworker of Robertson Langston's. My focus is on maternal and child health. And so I am here to support my colleagues as well as see if there's any crossover between safety and violence prevention with maternal and child health.
Right. Well, with that, I do invite you to take a look at the chat and check out the folks who chose to introduce themselves via the chat. I don't want to butcher names, so I won't try to read everybody's names and things like that. But we've got a very diverse group of people here in the room today, so I'm very excited. I would also offer up, if you are so inclined, if you want to put your email in the chat, it's a great way to stay connected with people. As we continue to work with these action teams, we will email everyone, keep all of you connected, but you will learn from folks here today. And often there's points of contacts and connections. And so if you are so inclined, throw your email in the chat for the folks on the call to be able to reach out to you, get some follow-up questions answered, things like that. So, and I'm Langston Verdeen. I am the Health Strategy Director at the City of Milwaukee Health Department. I showed up here today because Milwaukee matters to me. I'm born and raised here, not going anywhere anytime soon. And so to be a part of this work that is about improving the safety of Milwaukee, I've got 3 kids here, and I want it to be the best city for them and for all of your kids and families as well. So that's why I'm here. With that, let's move to the next slide, please. So really quickly, I want to give you an overview of our community health improvement planning process and the role of the health department in this work. So truly the role of the health department in this process is to share local health data and convene community partners to identify top health priorities with actionable strategies for community level change. We serve as a facilitator, a convener, a coordinator, bringing diverse individuals and groups together, aligning existing plans and strategies that exist across all of the work that we do together collectively, and helping to fill the gaps by developing new plans and strategies as needed. We're not necessarily as a health department leading this work or implementing all of this work. In some cases, our staff may be tasked with implementing some of this work, but often it's about supporting the work that you all are doing and making sure we have a platform for sharing the good work, but also checking in on progress. Next slide, please. Community health improvement plans have a 5-year cycle, and they pretty much go through these steps that you see on the screen here. The local health departments, they have a 5-year cycle, traditionally
Very familiar. You look
health system. What's that? Oh, I'm sorry. So typically health systems have a 3-year cycle, so it's a little distinction there. The process starts with identifying community partners and analyzing data through community health assessment and presenting the data to the community. We hosted 4 community meetings this past fall and winter to present the data from our community health assessment, as well as other community health data that we secure throughout the year as a part of our CHIP work. We worked with our leadership team to prioritize the health issues using available data, as well as issue briefs that I'll talk about in just a bit to lean on our decision-making process. Currently, we're in stage 5 and 6, where we are working with you all to identify even more implementation partners and solidify the folks that we have in this room to do this work, as well as creating implementation strategies, goals, and objectives to finalize our community health improvement plan by March, so right around the corner. At that time, these action teams will transition really into an implementation phase, where we are more so tasked with updating, tracking progress, sharing ideas, checking in on goals as a collective. Next slide, please. So how did we get here to this meeting today? So over the summer, we spent our time as a department engaging with community members to take a priority issue survey at over 40 events, including festivals, farmers markets, neighborhood pop-up events, et cetera, and are excited to share that we had over 2,000 people complete our priority issue survey. In addition, we launched a photo voice campaign asking residents to share pictures of what they felt was healthy or unhealthy about the city of Milwaukee. In the fall, we gathered and hosted 4 community meetings to share our community health improvement plan, as I mentioned a second ago, as well as the results from our community surveying. Over the winter, we compiled our community health data and all of our community feedback that we collected to inform our top priorities for the next 5 years of our community health improvement planning work. Those priorities, we'll talk a little bit about them today. Alex will introduce them. But the priorities that were identified by our leadership team here at the health department were maternal and child health, safety and violence prevention, which is why we're here in this room today, as well as the built environment. So today, and moving beyond, we are now tasked with identifying our partners, setting strategies and goals, like I mentioned a second ago, as well as our objectives as a collective. What is it going to take to for this team to be successful ultimately? Today's meeting is really about getting us to start thinking about what a safe and violence-free Milwaukee could look like. After today's meeting, we will draft a plan based on the thoughts, ideas, and feedback that has been shared and send it to you all for your feedback and review and next steps if appropriate. Then we will release our strategic plan, or excuse me, our CHIP towards the end of March of this year. And in the spring, we'll formalize our action teams. As I mentioned before, there's some folks who aren't in this room that need to really be present for us to be successful. We'll get those folks engaged in this work. And then we'll start meeting quarterly as an action team to formalize the next steps in this process. Now that we've built this infrastructure and compiled all of the data, we'll focus as a department on ensuring that the work is being done that's related to the 3 priority areas. We will also start convening a steering team that will guide the work at large and oversee the work of all of the action teams as well. So really excited to join you all on this journey and get the process going. So I'll move to the next slide. And I'll let Alex take it from here.
Yeah, so as mentioned earlier, my focus here at the health department is health equity. And as stated, that we have currently like 3 big action group domains for the MKE Elevate process, which is you guys, the safety and violence prevention, built environment, and maternal and childhood health, all kind of focusing on what's around that outer corner or outer circle. So in the last CHIP, so in our last community health improvement plan cycle, eliminating racism was its own action group. But as a good community with our surveys and community outreach, as well as leadership here at the Milwaukee Health Department, we realized that health equity was really important to incorporate overall. So that's where it became our overarching priority. So I will be working with the steering committee and action groups to ensure health and health equity is incorporated with our strategies, our goals, and our implementation, as well as making sure that barriers are addressed and that shared language is shared across action groups, and that we all are reaching towards that overarching priority of eliminating racism and health and increasing health equity in the Milwaukee area.
Thanks, Alex. Just to touch a little bit on the action team's purpose. The purpose of the MKE Elevate action teams are to convene a broad set of community partners who make up the public health system, who takes ownership of the objectives and strategies within the CHIP, and who are passionate and action-oriented about dismantling systems, structures, and barriers that contribute to health disparities in the Milwaukee community. Additionally, sharing updates on implementation progress, upcoming events, and opportunities to align work, participants in advocacy campaigns. At this time, we would like to, as the action team, if you could in the chat, from these subtopics over the overarching safety of violence prevention, which one are you currently interested in or want to be a part of? So right now you can go in the chat and put out of these 5, which one you would like to be interested in.
So just for the folks who don't want to tilt their head like me right now, so those categories are interpersonal and intimate partner violence, crime and neighborhood safety, reckless driving and motor vehicle crashes, trauma and trauma-informed care, mental health, and substance misuse. And so we'll utilize what you put in the chat to facilitate some breakout groups in a bit. So we would like everybody to respond if you can, so we can get you in the right breakout group. You're not wed to this long term. This is really just to facilitate our breakout group discussions today. So if you want to work on crime and neighborhood safety, mental health, substance use later on, that's totally fine as well. But if you could pick one for today to help facilitate the breakout, we'd appreciate it.
Okay, so while you all are continually populating those topics in the chat, we truly appreciate it. We are seeing a lot of them come through. We're going to go to the next slide to talk about the issue briefs. And we did publish issue briefs in the mid-January to talk about the safety and violence prevention. And so when we think about the issue briefs, we do have references of the issue brief at the bottom, and we will be emailing this presentation to you all to take a look at them. But we wanted to just give a couple of data points to really infuse the reasoning of why this topic was a priority, was selected. So crime and neighborhood safety, this is also in the issue briefs were around gun violence. In 2021, there were 180 homicides by firearm, so 13 by non-firearms, and 861 non-fatal shootings in Milwaukee. Now, around reckless driving and motor vehicle crashes, in 2021, there were 52 motor vehicle fatalities, 270 motor vehicle serious injuries, 10 bicyclists, serious injuries, excuse me, 1 fatal, 72 pedestrian serious injuries, and 17 pedestrian fatalities in Milwaukee. Now, the interpersonal and intimate partner violence from January 1st through August 10th, 2022, there were 52 domestic violence related non-fatal shootings. And lastly, substance misuse. In 2021, there were 623 confirmed fatal drug overdoses, 5,573 non-fatal drug overdoses in Milwaukee County. So that is a lot to really take in. But we will have put the links of the issue briefs in the chat, so you can feel free to take a look at them as well. At your own leisure. But these are some data points that we will feel from the health department that we have of the issue briefs that streamlines the work that we're doing. Next slide. Now, we want to do a little activity just for a few minutes. So just take a few minutes if you have a piece of paper, or just brainstorm the idea. In 5 years, if Milwaukee was free of all violence, what would it look like? Again, and this is something that again we're looking at in 5 years. What is it that we could see if Milwaukee was free of violence? So I'll give you about 5 minutes to do that. So for those that are just joining, we are in our vision activity, and we are currently brainstorming. And you can have a piece of paper or just some thoughts on your own. In 5 years, if Milwaukee was free of all violence, what would it look like? And we have about, give you 2 more minutes. Okay, I'm pretty sure everyone got some great ideas and just a vision of thought of how Milwaukee is going to look. And so now we're going to go ahead. I hope you enjoyed that. But now we're going to turn over to Karen, which is she's also our co-chair within the Safety and Violence Prevention Action Team. I'm going to turn over to Karen Tyler to give a overview of the Blueprint for Peace.
Thank you, Robert, and I'll be brief. So the Blueprint for Peace was created after a spike of homicides and non-fatal shootings in 2015. At that time, it was approximately 150% increase, and that spike was seen across the country. So there was a call to revamp the Office of Violence Prevention in early 2016 with a charge to really engage the community in developing a comprehensive plan around this issue. And so here we have the blueprint, and that was shaped by more than 1,500 individuals, some that are on this call today, elevating the voices of youth, community residents, and key stakeholders to call for strategic, aligned, and sustained investments and action to prevent violence, build resilience, and create a safer, healthier city. So as you see, the blueprint has 6 goals, and along with all those goals are 30 evidence-informed strategies that the community can use. So OVP employs a public health approach and focuses on prevention of violence before it occurs, as well as intervention efforts after violence has occurred to reduce its impact and prevent future perpetration and victimization. So today, just everything we're talking about is totally in line with the blueprint. And basically, we look at what are the factors that drive violence. So thanks.
Thank you so much, Karen. Again, I would like to just emphasize that we know that the Office of Violence Prevention is doing a lot of work, and others are doing a lot of work in the community of Milwaukee. And we just want to really take the time to see how we, not to reinvent the wheel of what's going on. We want to add and collaborate on what is already happening, unless there are some opportunities where we could, implement, some other strategies. But we really wanted to, if there is work already being done, how can we add to what is already it being an impact? And also, we did put the Blueprint of Peace link in the chat. So if you want to take a look at that at your own leisure, you can. Just to give it's a great tool that has a lot of information on how Office of Violence Prevention had and others in the community had really implemented a lot of strategies and goals. So please feel free to take a look at that. Next slide. Okay, so now I know we've been doing a lot of talking at you all, but now this is the time that we like to hear your voices. So this is the discussion to see from the subtopics, because there are 6, as we stated, which is interpersonal and intimate partner violence, crime and neighborhood safety, reckless driving and motor vehicle crashes, trauma and trauma-informed care, mental health, and substance misuse. Do any of these need to be combined? So one that came up is, should trauma and trauma-informed care be combined with mental health? And secondly, should substance misuse be infused into all subtopics or stand alone? So I want to yield the floor to give some, you can take your mics off mute to discuss, or you can put it in the chat as well. So I'll yield the floor.
I just want to set the stage really quick. And so as an action team, we really lean in on getting your feedback. And so that's where that action comes from, right? Making an action, making a decision on these things. And so we don't have to come to an absolute final consensus today, but we need to hear your voice, whether it's out loud or in the chat, which I see folks are already doing. And so let's focus in on question 1 first, if that's okay, and then we'll move to question 2. So should trauma-informed care be combined with mental health for the sake of a subtopic, right? So they don't necessarily go anywhere, but or like we don't lose them, but we combine that work or those efforts, right, for the sake of the action team. So PK, you have your hand up.
Hi, I'm PK, and I'm a grateful recovering addict. Based on the statistics that you just said about overdoses and all that type of stuff, I kind of feel like it's kind of its own little animal in its cage, if you will. I think that being from the Narcotics Anonymous Fellowship, we've been trying to reach out to all different health departments to give them more resources and business cards with the QR codes that lead you right to meeting lists and so on and so forth. There's so many more resources than you're aware of. So that's why I personally think it's just such a huge thing that it kind of has to stand on its own, I think. I don't know. This is my first time doing anything with Milwaukee Elevate, and I appreciate the invite, but let me know if I'm wrong or if you have different ideas. I appreciate all your help. Thanks.
Thanks, PK. See a lot of comments in the chat, Robert, for question 1 that they should be combined. Any other folks, anyone want to share maybe an opposing view of why we shouldn't combine those? I would be curious as well, just to make sure that I see a couple now saying separate. There's so many components within each, definitely. Ferris?
Yes. Can you guys hear me? I'm sorry, I was having computer issues. So, hi guys, I just wanted to introduce first. My name is Ferris Rizek. I'm the community health epidemiologist. Some of the departments that I lead for data and evaluation is maternal child health, Office of Violence Prevention, and then substance misuse. So just to answer the 2 questions, I would recommend as just like a data standpoint, the trauma and trauma-informed care could be combined with the crime and safety violence. And then for the substance misuse, we could just keep that separate. The trauma and trauma-informed care and the crime, MCW has a really good basis on that. So their data, they basically combine it and then they could separate it through like domestic violence and other categories. So I would recommend to combine both of that. And then for substance misuse, I would just leave that alone and just keep that as a separate topic. That's just my
I do have a question. So for the what was the, and I'm so sorry if I missed this, but what was the thought process in potentially infusing substance misuse into other topics rather than doing it alone? Was it because we thought that maybe it would be relevant to all the other subtopics?
Yeah, so as we have been having conversations with community partners internally, I think to PK's point a bit ago, substance misuse issues, substance use disorder, overdoses have been so prevalent in our community where it's starting to feel like it's a part of all of these things, right? You know, you're seeing it at the different crime scenes. It's at the scenes of reckless driving, and vehicle crashes, et cetera. And so we just wanted to propose as just a general question on what would folks think about, you know, being really intentional as we create goals and planning around, let's say, reckless driving, for example. Do we include substance misuse specifically in reckless driving, or just keep it on its own? It's, you know, I'm seeing a lot of comments. It's kind of too big. It's too important in the comments as well. So that's really where it came from, wanting to kind of test that water with you all.
All right, thank you. No, that's super helpful. And I would just add to that then just say yes to the first, and the second, I would definitely think that maybe having it stand alone.
Montreal, you have your hand up?
Hello, all. This is Montreal Kane. I'm the executive director of the Mirror Response Team in House Call, Wisconsin. When we're tracking data, it's really important to have as many variables as possible. I've done some work for Pfizer Pharmaceuticals and the big 10 consortiums around just health and understanding the numbers. And so we have the ability to compile, but if we don't collect the data correctly, we'll be in a situation where we won't be able to be acute. And so if we can collect individual data points and then create certain subsets where we can gather them and say, okay, these, let's just say social determinants all add to these perceived crimes, to these perceived challenges, I think that would be a better approach rather than just compiling them up front and then not being able to see exactly where they came from. Thank you.
Thanks for that. And I recognize that ceiling. Many years in that building. Any other comments? And then we're going to move to a poll to kind of get a more clear gauge on how everybody's feeling about it.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for the dialogue and discussion. Let's go to the polls and get your input. If you could, as the poll comes up, poll question, feel free to answer it, and we will appreciate your feedback and move on.
So just for clarification, for question number 2, should substance misuse be infused into all the subtopics? Or standalone? It's kind of a 2-part question, and so it doesn't work to have a yes or no necessarily. So if you respond to just the first part, should substance misuse be infused into all the subtopics? Yes or no. No would be standalone. Yes would be it's in all the topics. All right, Alex, you want to show us the results? What do folks say? All right, so it's looking like the majority feel like trauma-informed care should be combined with mental health, as well as substance misuse should be left as a standalone topic. And so really appreciate that feedback. And one thing that I do want to just really stress for folks, especially folks who work in the mental health space, and I saw a really great comment from Karen in the chat about, you know, really trauma-informed care is about the approach, how we show up for the people that need us. It doesn't mean that these things are going away. They will just be, as a collective, worked on together. And as we think about goals and outcomes and objectives and strategies, it's going to make it a little easier for us to kind of track 5 subtopics versus 6 is ultimately what it gets us down to. So I appreciate everybody's feedback on that. All right, you want to move us along, Robert? Thanks.
Yes, yes, thank you so much. So now we're going to go into our breakout rooms. And so we have a Jamboard activity and so the link we are going to put in the chat so you all can select it and go into how our tool to use to brainstorm some ideas on a sticky note. And then and the question will be posed, what do we want to achieve in the next 5 years for the subtopic areas? So just think about that question as you are jotting your ideas down on the sticky notes. Then discuss the ideas with your small groups, categorizing your ideas and pull out the top 3. And so with the first part of brainstorming, just give that about, 5 minutes to, be able to hear everyone's input. And then together come in about 20 minutes, really dialogue about what we can accomplish, those top 3. And then formulate those top ideas into goals that the action team can work towards. And don't hang up on the phrasing. We'll compile everything and we will do some wordsmithing and bring it back to this action team group in our next quarterly meeting. And please make sure to pick one person to present after, because we will come back to the full group to discuss those action items on goals. So we put the Jamboard link in the chat. We're going to break you out into breakout groups from what you selected in choosing what your interest was in the beginning of the presentation. So we'll take a moment to break you out in those breakout rooms. Alex,
So I do have the breakout rooms up. So once I have open all rooms, you guys can self-select into the group that you guys would like to be. The breakout groups are not reflective of the conversation we just had. So like mental health and substance misuse will still be their own group for now. So I'm going to open all rooms and you will kind of self-select yourself. If you're having an issue getting into that breakout group, let me know and then we can do some tech support.
All right, and we will have some MHD staff popping into the different rooms to kind of guide the discussion if needed and kind of support you and things like that. So.
And again, if you're having trouble moving into a breakout group, I can move you there as well.
I'm having trouble getting into a breakout. Oh, wait a minute, maybe. Never mind, I figured it out.
If you click breakout rooms at the bottom of your Zoom screen, the menu of options should pop up for you.
What about the interpersonal? I'm looking for like the drug misuse. Oh, never mind. I found it. I'm sorry. I'm kind of having
It's
a trouble.
okay. We're all navigating this together.
Got it. Yeah. And Alex, there was a comment from Danique.
Okay. Danique, what room would you
just
like
let
to
us know
be in?
which one. Yeah, there you go. Which one would you like to be in?
Okay, I will get you over there.
All right. Looks like there's only one person in interpersonal and one person in reckless driving. see. How do we want to break up as a team just to make sure that we're covering the rooms and folks have what they need?
Do we want to ask the people that are the only ones in their group to maybe go to their second choice so that they can have a better conversation?
Think so, because Danique's the only one in reckless driving and Deshaun Ewing is the only one in interpersonal.
And then
Yeah.
Yvonne, what group would you like to be in? Okay.
So I'll hop into interpersonal and just let Deshaun know to join a different one. Can he then just self-select by clicking breakout rooms?
Yeah, so he'll just have to leave the breakout room,
Okay.
go back to the main room, and then he should be able to select a different one.
Cool.
I can do the same with Danique in reckless driving.
Thank you. And then Robert and Alex, can you guys pop into crime and neighborhood safety and mental health just to make sure they're moving in the right direction? And Melissa, if you can pop into substance misuse, that would be fantastic.
Yes, I can do that.
No problem.
Will do.
Robert, which group are you going to go in? And I'll go on the other one. Okay.
Let's start with the first group. And so let's the first group is crime and violence safety. Do we have a point person to provide a debrief of the great conversation that you all had?
Yes, Robert, that would be me.
Awesome, awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, so we did identify 5 of our top priorities. The first one being community, well, not in any particular order, but definitely with our top 3. But we had community training. Examples of that would be bystander training, mental health first aid, CPR, conflict resolution. And we recommended that those be taught to the community, to schools, to churches, just so we can, equip, even the community as first responders, because they are, with valuable information that they need. The second one we put was equitable rates for MPS per child compared to suburban rates. And so we all know what's going on with MPS right now. I mean, they're teachers, they're security, they're therapists, they're healers, they're doing so much, and they deserve to be paid for all the work, the valuable work that they do. The third one was access to better affordable healthcare and mental health. And we specifically talked about providing citywide healing spaces where people can come and meet with like a credible clinician or take part in some type of healing activity. And then the fourth one we have is adequate and affordable housing. And let's see, what is the fifth? Can my team help me? Did we have a fifth one or did we combine them to 4?
I think we might have done 4, but I could be wrong. I think 4 is what sticks out.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, so that's where we're at in our group.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing and all of the the great work that you all put into the brainstorming and priorities. Thank you. So now we're going to go to the next group, which is reckless driving and motor vehicle crashes.
Yeah, so we didn't have a formal group, but I just added some comments into that one. I'm on the mayor's Vision Zero task force. And, you know, one of the things that we talked about, or I tried to articulate earlier, is that the work of this action team isn't necessarily meant to duplicate or take over existing initiatives. You all are doing a lot of fantastic work, and it's about building up and supporting those initiatives. The mayor's leading or his staff are leading a Vision Zero work plan that aims to ultimately have zero deaths, traffic-related deaths, pedestrians and on the roads. I think it's by 2037, the copy and paste says. And I think aligning the goals that we have around reckless driving and motor vehicle crashes with kind of those priorities that already have a lot of movement, a lot of funding to support that work makes sense. I would be curious if others in the room really briefly know of other work groups, task force, groups that might be involved in this work that we would want to make sure and consult with or get their feedback on. If you can go on the Jamboard and just grab one of those notepads and just, you know, write those names down. If you have contact information, I know there's some really great community advocate groups that are doing some work around reckless driving. If you have like points of contacts, things like that, we'd love to get them at the next meetings.
Thanks, Langston.
Yep.
Our next group we have is mental health. Was there a point person to present for this group?
I don't think there was one, but since I think I'm the only one not driving, I can go ahead. So we talked a lot about, you know, like resources that we already have and then what we would like to see. So some of our priorities, one was more caregiver support. That's not really discussed or talked about a lot in the mental health realm. Two is community-based crisis response. Three, having more efficient access to care, like some of that higher level systematic approaches to how we explain or deal with or provide information regarding mental health. I can't see 4 or 5. My screen is cut off. Hold on, let me see if I can go back to exit full screen. Okay, so 4th, we talked about some aftercare programs, not only for the caregivers, but for folks who are continuing to seek treatment that's maybe not as extensive as it had been before. And also discussing, we talked about suicide, providing some aftercare support for folks who have lost loved ones due to suicide. Oh no, it went away. Our last one. Someone's adjusting. Yeah, I think that was, I can't remember what our last one was, but those are pretty much what we talked about. Some, I guess, looping in and rounding out what we think would be beneficial to the city.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. Truly appreciate all you all our work around this. And so we're going to, I know we're at that time, so we're going to go to the next group, and we're going to have the point person within substance misuse to go ahead and give your thoughts and feedback from your group.
I believe that's going to be me to report out on this one. our conversation kind of came around 3, maybe 4 themes. So there is education and pushing information out. So letting the community know what are the resources that exist in the city, where are they located, getting that information to the police departments, fire departments, us in the health department. We have some folks who know of resources that are really not commonly known, so just pushing that information out. Reducing stigma was another big theme, particularly around bringing the community in. So it's not just isolating the person with the substance misuse issues, but seeing it as a whole community issue. And then other things around reducing stigma, like access to supportive housing or supportive care. Some entities don't like to take on those types of clients. And then harm reduction. So those Narcan vending machines, fentanyl test strips. We discussed safe use sites as a possibility. So just all sorts of harm reduction activities. And then we had one more kind of system level idea of understanding the history of a client's use issues. So understanding those root causes of why people do use, like what's underneath that, what's going on in the community that leads people to those use things. So those are kind of our big themes.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Melissa. So was that the last group? Okay, awesome. Well, thank you so much. If we can go right to, we're going to compile all of these notes. Truly appreciate you all taking the time to go into the groups and to give your ideas. And so next steps, just want to let you know that this will be a quarterly meeting, but also that if you know anyone that is missing at this that wasn't here at this meeting, feel free to reach out to them and let them know that we are convening quarterly. We will have a time for them to register if they are interested to come aboard. So let's think about that as we leave this meeting. For more information, you can contact the co-chair with Karen Tyler, with her email contact is here, or myself, to refer your networks. And if you have any questions, you can go on to our email, which is mkeelevate@milwaukee.gov. And also you can check out our website at www.milwaukee.gov/elevate. And we also have social media you can follow at MKE Elevate. So stay connected and look to hear from us very soon with the updated goals and notes that from the meeting and the presentation. And thank you so much for being a part. I think there was a question. Did you have a question, PK?
You actually answered it. I was going to say, are the notes going to be available to us via email, or where would we find the outcome of this meeting?
Yes,
but you
yes.
Thank you.
No problem. All right. Yes.
And then I don't know if you guys can see, I put a poll up about if Tuesdays from 10:30 to 12 work for you for quarterly, so we can start getting those scheduled out. I don't know. Can you guys see that poll? Okay. Sorry, Robert. I just want to make sure that that was up.
Oh yeah, no problem. Thank you for mentioning that, because I totally almost forgot. But yes, please answer the poll so we can know exactly what works for you all, because we don't want to we know you are all doing great work in the community thus far, and we don't want to overbear that, but we know this is important work as well, and we wouldn't be able to do it without you all. So feel free to take the poll. I'm not sure, is the results already done in or?
So it's showing 0% participated, which I don't think that is correct. So I'm going to try to relaunch it. Yeah, is it showing 0% feedback?
It says
Mine says
100%.
Oh, okay. Well, All right, well, I guess it's 100% that Tuesdays from 10:30 to 12 work.
Awesome. Go ahead, Langston.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, really great job, and so much appreciation for everyone's time today. Robert and Alex, you guys did great, and Karen, thanks everybody for volunteering to kind of lead your work groups. Really appreciate you all showing up, and I do apologize, we went over a few minutes, but please go enjoy your delicious lunches if you can, and take a little break for yourself. So we appreciate you all.
Right, take care.